Howdy, folks! We are in my sister's brand spanking new Tesla Model Y. And if you haven't yet, I would recommend... Let's see. I'm still getting used to these kind of controls. I'm so used to my S and the X. I mean, I've been driving those for a long time. And there we go. So, what was I saying? That's right. If you haven't yet, I would highly recommend watching my Model 3 review first, because some things that are similar that I did not quite touch on in the Model 3 review, I will be touching on with the Model Y. So, now again, this is not a loaner. This is actually my sister's car. So, it does have some of her things in it. Not completely empty like the Model Y is. There's my Model S, just drove over here, and we kind of ran out of time to do this review as my sister is driving to North Dakota to work at one of the family's businesses up there, and she's leaving tonight, so I had to really squeeze this one in. Timing just did not work out. To start off with, gosh, is this thing so much more comfortable than that Model 3 that I tested out last. While the controls, the screen, and the seats all feel pretty much the same, just the seating. I don't know, maybe it's just because I've driven trucks so much all my life. Because, I mean, since I've been 16, I'm 35 now, but since I turned 16, I've driven approximately 1.5 million total miles, quite a bit compared to most people, and I mean that's nothing compared to truck drivers. Mike Anthony, I'm shouting out to you here, who does like 1,000 miles a day, it seems like. But just the overall feel. I mean, the car's up higher, and you sit more upright. Now, I do like my Model S, of course. This compared to the Model S, I do like how this seats upright a little better. This compared to the Model 3, I feel like the Model 3 is way too low, and you just you're leaned back a little too far. Let's see if I can get the right controls here. After having that Model 3 loaner, I kept hitting the shift stalk to activate autopilot. I'm like, oh, damn right. I got used to that after driving the Model 3 for a week. Pretty much a lot of the same complaints about the Model 3 carry over to the Model Y here, and that really comes down to the lack of physical controls is an extreme turnoff for me. I like being able to have an autopilot stick right here where I can control everything from that. I like having the additional buttons on the steering wheel for audio, controlling the vents more. Yeah, you got the scroll wheels here, same as on the Model 3. But downside with the scroll wheels, I found, is trying to do the left and the right swivels. It's a little difficult to do. They're just trying to push them, and I don't want to completely change all the settings on my sister's car before she does a 1,000-mile drive tonight. Now this will be her first drive with long drive with a Tesla. How many miles do we have on here? She's had 572. 60 of those are just driving it from Highland Park home. There are some updates. Now the Model 3 I test drove was a 2018 earlier production, around VIN number 6500, which the fit and finish was pretty darn good on that. This one does have the inductive charging built in, and now has the USB-C ports. This vehicle also has the new heat pump, which the Model 3 is going to be getting now. The Model 3 that I tested did not have the heat pump. However, it will work pretty much the same as what's in this car. I did get to drive this a bit so far prior to today, just to get a feel of it. And I'll tell you, that heat pump is pretty dang nice, and it is so efficient compared to the resistive heating of the Model 3, S, and the X. So I'm really hoping the S and the X will get a refresh with the heat pump as well, hopefully soon. Now, my sister decided not to spend the $8,000 to $10,000 for the full self-drive package, and instead decided, instead of sacrificing on range, she got more range but skipped on the full self-drive, hoping that maybe in a year or two there'll be a reasonably priced subscription service. And regular autopilot does come with the car, so unfortunately I will not be able to demo with the full self-drive computer. But this still works about the same as the Model 3. All the controls is all the same as the Model 3 for the most part. This is just more of a SUV crossover type body on this vehicle. Since this is not in range of the Wi-Fi network at my other sister's house, where she's been staying for a couple months now before she goes back to North Dakota, I am downloading via my 6S hotspot a firmware update from her. She's like 4 or 5 behind now. The screen, everything's fairly the same, Model 3 wise. Pretty intuitive. Again, I don't like not being able to keep maps up and the rear camera up. Visibility out the rear view mirror is much better than the Model 3 and S and the X. So I give major bonus points to that. So the necessity of having the backup camera on all the time to actually see what's going on behind you is a little better there. The color side marker cameras, which the Model 3 I tested did not have, nor does my Model X, makes a pretty nice difference. I do find that the backup camera does have a little bit of ghosting, same as the Model 3 I test drove. However, my S and my X do not. My S is Autopilot 1, and my X is Autopilot 2 with the upgraded full self-drive camera that has the built-in heating element. Now, there is the built-in heating element on the 3 and the Y. I don't know what the difference is, why the camera ghosts a little more. It's hard to see on the videos, but you'll get color streaks. It's almost like color bleeding. I'm going to stop home real quick and grab my Chatimo adapter, because I'm going to stop at Costco and a Chatimo station after this, while doing this video. I'll probably be done recording by the time I get there. The handling of this car is pretty decent compared to the Model 3. I actually found it's a little more tight and stiffer. Well, the Model 3 is lower center of gravity, and if you're doing cornering and whatnot, and sharp turns, the Model 3 will stick to the road a little better. But overall, the feel and the responsiveness of the Model Y, I'm in love with this vehicle. Frankly, if I could fit 7 adults in this vehicle, I would probably be very inclined into purchasing a Model Y. A few things hold me back. The 7-seat version will be coming out very soon, and soon relative to the recording date of this video. However, the way it is fitted into this vehicle will limit it more to child or younger teens. Full-grown adults are going to have some trouble fitting in the third row for the Model Y, based on the photos and other information that I have seen in prototyping pictures that I have seen. Same, kind of like how the rear jump seats were with the original older Model S's. They were designed for children, not really for adults. So that's a major setback for me, because I'm going to have car seats in the middle row for children for quite a while yet, because my Vinny's disabled, and I got my 1-year-old baby girl. Of course, waiting for the Leaf truck. So that is a downside there. The major bonus is, compared to the Model X, this thing has normal doors. That alone is almost enough to push me to getting the Model Y over an X. But again, two major downsides. One is lack of unlimited free supercharging forever, and I'm driving 45,000 miles a year. And number two, lack of being able to fit a full-grown adult into the third row seats, because I need to have 7 people when my mother and father-in-law visit from China, and they don't come for just a week, they come for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months at a crack. I can't fit the whole clan in a Model Y, even if it was a 7-passenger vehicle. At least not comfortably at all. I'm going to jump out real quick and grab my CHAdeMO adapter, which I forgot to grab. And you can see my Model X right there. I used to be Mr. Nice Guy. I had 8 CHAdeMO adapters that I used a lot of referral credits to purchase, and I'd loan those out for free. And guess how many I got left now? Alright, key card. And now we gotta wait for the leaf truck again. They're not even picking up leaves, they're just picking up sticks, leaving all the leaf piles. We're gonna go this way. So while I used to loan out CHAdeMO adapters, I am down to just my personal one. So 8 loaners and 1 personal, and I'm down to my last personal one. Otherwise, I'd like to have one in each car. No more referral credits left anymore. Now, coming back to that heat pump, it is just so efficient. In the wintertime, most of your energy consumption, of course, is going to be driving. Following that, the next biggest hit, the thing that takes all of your spare power, that extra mileage, is the heat. On the resistive-based heating, currently on the S and the X, and being phased out on the 3 in favor of the heat pump, you're talking as much as 4 to 6 kilowatt of wasted energy just to heat the cabin. You don't even touch a fraction of that when it comes to using the heat pump. Now, there is a little bit of a resistive-based heater backup for those people driving in extremely cold climates, say colder than negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit. As of course, the colder it gets, the less efficient a heat pump is. But until you hit those really cold temperatures, that heat pump is going to be astronomically more efficient. Something that would take 4,000 to 6,000 watts to heat a cabin with resistive-based heating might only use 500 to 1,500 watts on a heat pump. So you could roast yourself out. There is very little. Heat pump, for those that are unaware, is basically a reverse air conditioner. Instead of taking heat from inside a space and moving it outside, which is what an air conditioner does, it's taking heat from outside and moving it inside. And it uses a lot less energy to do that than it does to just create heat, such as a resistive-based heater. Just YouTube heat pump. I'm not going to go spend half this video explaining how it's more efficient or how it works. But it works, and it works extremely well. I heat a whole cottage, 850 square foot cottage with a single 12,000 BTU AC, and I can keep that cottage at 70 degrees all winter long, and my largest heat bill is going to be $70. But what does that mean in terms of a car, electric car? It means you are going to be able to still make those long distance trips without taking a massive range hit. I'll be honest, I still, even with how many superchargers there are now, I still sometimes have to turn the heat way down or off in my S and my X to make that final leg of a trip, or that final few miles of a trip, before I hit to a supercharger or home or my destination, when it does get cold out. So it can make a huge difference. Whereas if I had a heat pump in those vehicles, I would be making those stops with range to spare. I highly doubt we're going to get a retrofit option available for the S and the X, just because there is so much mechanicals that would go into retrofitting. It's not going to be cost effective. So unfortunately, those of you that have resistive-based heating, you're kind of stuck with it. Hopefully, eventually, we'll get a battery upgrade to give us a little more extra range, and or superchargers even more to fill in more gaps as our batteries wear and those trips get a little more difficult to make. Now, unlike the loaner Model 3 that I had for my Model 3 review, there is no chill mode forced on this vehicle. So we're going to get on the freeway here and just give her a little flooring. And this is a long-range dual motor Model 3. Model Y. I get used to saying that. And I will tell you, the Model Y, even the long range, really has some get up and go. Very impressive. So, woo! And that just took off right off there. Not bad at all. You're still not as quick as a dual motor Model S. It is a little quicker than a dual motor Model X. There we go. Used to doing that, yeah. Now the performance Model 3 and Y will be about as quick as a non-performance dual motor Model S, which is about 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. Of course, nowhere near as fast as a performance Model S, but it's not too shabby, considering a non-performance dual motor 90 or 100D is going to be about 3.3 seconds, 0 to 60. Tesla's stated acceleration is rather conservative numbers, so it will accelerate quicker than what's stated. That's one of the few cases where Tesla under-promises and over-delivers. They still need to work on their range estimates, which even when I hit EPA-rated range, even on the 3 and the Y, S, and the X, when I hit the EPA-rated energy consumption, I still cannot come anywhere near getting the actual EPA-rated range. So Tesla is still doing a pretty poor job on fudging the numbers for range. And this thing cruises on the freeway absolutely amazing. Doesn't get blown around as bad as a Model X. Work cruise. Orange barrels are coming out. Yay! Realistically, this is Milwaukee County. The orange barrels never went away. I'm 35. I got my license when the day I turned 16. And my entire driving life, I do not remember one time where Milwaukee County's freeway was not under major construction. So, let's see, what else can I talk about? The interior, it's pretty much similar to the Model 3. There is a ton of headspace, a lot more headspace in this car than the Model S. Dare I even say it matches roughly the Model X. Overall interior space, it's pretty decent for the size vehicle it is. The width is a little bit more narrow than the S and the X. A little wider, it seems like, than the 3. Not much, but could be the same, if not a tiny bit. I could reach the Model 3's other side pretty easy. I have to bend a little bit to get on this one. Trunk space is great. I like the hatchback style. I did not like the trunk style. Was fine in the 3. Of course, it's more of a sedan, a small sedan, compact car than a sport utility vehicle. So kind of like that. The heating vents, awesome. Window controls and the door opening, great. A complaint that I have for both the 3 and the Y, it's a hit or miss. While I like it and don't like it at the same time, are the door handles. Tesla, for some reason, cannot get their shit together when it comes to frickin' door handles. While they finally got a door handle that doesn't have to self-present, unlike the Model S, which always wears and breaks constantly. Had about 15 replacement handles on my first S in the first 3 years, 80,000 miles, and I've had 5 or 6 on my second S in 4 years, 100,000 miles, and I'm due for a couple more door handles on my S right now. I do like where you can, it's basically just a micro switch. You push your thumb in, handle pops out, and that activates the micro switch, and then you manually pull it open. So there's less moving parts. You basically just have a single micro switch instead of servos and motors and whatnot going on. But at the same time, even my kids had trouble getting the Model 3 and the Y handle to pop out. You got to get it with the correct hand. So if you're on the driver's side, you want to hit it with your left hand, shove your thumb in there, handle pops out, and then you pull. If you're on the passenger side, you got to hit it with your right hand. And if you have a bigger hand, you might be poking it with one finger, trying to get the handle to pop out and then grabbing it with another hand. They didn't make them large enough. Well, of course, they were trying to go for aesthetics, and again, aesthetics over functionality. So I like the concept. They didn't make them big enough to make it practical. Please, Tesla, just put a normal freaking door handle on one of your vehicles. Stop with the bullshit over-engineered crap. Keep it simple, please. And that is a major problem Tesla has, is they over-engineer stuff, and then it bites them in the ass. The Model S, self-presenting door handles that have been nothing but a complete pain in the ass all this time. Over-engineered. Model X, Falcon wing doors. Nobody asked for it. While it's cool and it looks neat and impresses people that don't actually own one, if you spend any amount of time opening and closing the Falcon wing doors, you'll realize what kind of pain in the ass it actually is. The only time I find the Falcon wing doors anywhere useful is when it's raining out. It keeps the rain off us as I'm putting kids in car seats. Other than that, I can do without them, and I would gosh darn love normal freaking doors. Alright, dude, we're still on the freeway. Why are we doing 35 miles an hour on the freeway here? Is there somebody in front of him? Okay, I guess the off-ramp is completely backed up. I've never seen that before. They put the hazard button up here, which now that I know it's there, I've never seen that on any other vehicle other than the Model 3 and the Model Y. Hazard button there. Every other vehicle I've ever owned had it either above the steering wheel or directly to the right, including the S and the X. When I needed it in the Model 3, I was looking, what the heck, where's the hazard button? And it's up here. I like how Tesla went back to the more warm color lights. Oh, okay, so that's the big holdup. Someone's driving an actual house down the roundabout. mobile home. So I like this. I do not like the white, the pure bluish tinted white light that's on the older Model S and the current Model X. It just, that color temperature gives me a headache like you can't believe. Of course, this also has the little cabin camera, which I'm still not sure how I feel about having a cabin camera. If this was my vehicle, I would cover it with a piece of black tape. Don't need a cabin camera watching me. Neat little view. Let's see, going around the roundabout. Whereas the Model 3 that I had as a loaner did not appear to be using the rear camera for autopilot or full self-drive option. This one does. Now this one has the full self-drive computer, not the full self-drive software, but the full self-drive computer. And it does appear, based on it showing the vehicle behind me. Oh, no, we're flickering. Okay, no, it is not. Now you see, if you have a S or a 3, and now I gotta pay more attention to driving. If you have an S or a 3, you'll notice, or I guess a SX, actually any of them with the full self-drive hardware, you'll notice a vehicle directly behind you flickering. That's because it's not using the rear backup camera as part of the autopilot or full self-driving suite yet. And look, you can see I've entered the Space Invaders. I call it, it's almost like a Space Invaders game with the little orange cones coming at me. Isn't that something? But what happens is, as it flickers, if you'll notice the side markers, just a little bit of that car is peeking out the side, and that is what the car is using to determine that there's something behind us. That plus the sonar. It is not noticing on the backup camera, but it is seeing a little bit on the side marker. And as I go a little bit here, I don't know how well that'll show up. The guy behind me is moving forward too. Darn it. That vehicle behind me, as it flickers, that's as it moves in and out of view of the side marker. There you go. Flickering, flickering, and it's out of view. There's that car, that house oversized load going down probably the worst possible choice of a road at this time. Knocked over. He's actually got somebody ahead of it moving cones. That's funny. So I guess that's pretty much it. Handling. The Model Y does have optional towing package. I'm not sure if it's released yet or if it's coming soon, but it's 3,500 pounds, which is not too shabby for the size vehicle it is. But at the same time, it's just still, even though physically it's a smaller vehicle, it is still a heavy vehicle. This is actually heavier than my old Nissan Xterra that had 5,000 pound towing, and it was severely underpowered and underbraked with drum brakes. And I towed 5,000 pounds all the time. That was my big workhorse vehicle when I had my motorcycle shop. So we are now at a very nice marketing agency, GMAR, which I hope they don't go out of business, because I haven't even seen them open. But given that it's a marketing agency and everybody's working on computers, they can all probably work from home, given that this is the year of the COVID China virus. And yes, they did manufacture it. I have contacts in the Wuhan government that can corroborate that. Of course, will not give names. So, parking. I'm going to go plug this in. You guys can watch me on the backup camera plug in the Charimo adapter. This nasty monstrosity. This is actually the first time I've ever Charimo charged a Model Y, or a Model 3 for that matter. My sister actually has, unfortunately, paid supercharging. The last supercharging session was $10.51. Gosh, that really adds up. The battery seems to be cold. Now, the Model 3 originally did not have a battery pack heater. The Model Y does, although I do believe they use the heat pump as a pack heater, whereas the Model 3 was using a stall mode on the motor. Basically, it would try and recover as much waste heat as possible from the motors to heat the battery, and when not moving, it would put the motor into a stall, so neither forward nor reverse, but would still burn off energy to generate heat. And in low power levels, that's no problem at all and will not damage the motor. It's just not an efficient way of doing it. So Tesla, again, cheaped out on a very low-cost part and caused many headaches for a lot of people. Whereas the Model Y, and I can feel the compressor spooling up now. It's going to start heating that battery. Unfortunately, without having a range mode or anything on the Model Y, I couldn't preheat the battery pack on the way here, because this is also not a Tesla supercharger. If it was a Tesla supercharger in the nav, it would have started preheating the battery on the way there. This station will go up to a max of 44 kilowatt. Let's see how much has downloaded. Not very much. Let's reconnect to my old 6S. I got my 6S phone here. Got my old 6S with a bonus battery pack to download. That, and I got my 8 controlling my 360 camera. Why is it not? Doesn't want to seem to connect to Wi-Fi. Maybe if I move it over here. One thing I did notice both on the 3 and the Y is it does not do a very good job of Wi-Fi. Whereas both my S and my X in my own home driveway pick up a very strong Wi-Fi signal from my home router. Neither vehicle could see. It doesn't want to at all. Neither one of these vehicles could see my access point. Whereas my S and the X sitting in my driveway could each pick up about 20 access points. I picked up one on each vehicle that were directly across the street. My neighbor's directly across the street from my house. Another nice thing, the actual view on the screen. This seems like a very high resolution screen. My sister does have a screen protector on there, and she also put some carbon fiber decal over the center here to get rid of the gloss look. It just did not look very good. She thought she was getting a gloss wood trim, which this wood trim is very, very nice. I like this. She might actually have me remove it and gloss it, because it is a matte look. So I might just shellac the wood trim in here, and I think that would look really spectacular. Seats are about the same as the Model 3. Seat controls there, all off. Seat heaters. Got your same dog mode, camp mode, all of that. Controls are all the same as the Model 3. The only difference is for heat, instead of resistive, it just uses a heat pump. And I don't know if you guys can hear it on the cameras there, but that AC compressor is really going full blast there. Still 25 kilowatt. I don't know if that's due to pack voltage or what. I don't know what voltage the Y is running at. I don't know. That's either pack voltage or due to the colder temperature of the pack. Of course, today is 44 degrees. The last week and a half was in the 70s. Yeah. So, stay tuned. For those of you on the 360, it's going to go to 2D now, which will kind of work kind of like a little movie screen inside the 360 sphere. I'm just going to go out and show you what kind of I don't like about the door handles. The panel roof in this vehicle, for those watching on the 360, is absolutely gorgeous. I love this panoramic roof, whereas the Model 3 has a support, like 2 panes of glass with a support right where my cameras are currently mounted. The Model Y is just one giant piece of glass, and I absolutely love that. I don't know how much heat loss there will be in wintertime. Not too bad there. Delivery quality. Tesla's delivery quality is still quite poor. Fit and finish was excellent on this vehicle. Her original Model Y actually came off the car carrier with about $20,000 worth of body damage and whatnot, and it was really just trashed. It almost looks like they dropped it off the back of the car hauler. Who knows anymore? They might manage to find her this one at another service center. Exactly the same spec vehicle. So she got this one instead. The panel gaps, fit and finish was pretty good. Didn't see any panel gap issues. We did have a few other issues. There were greasy handprints all over the headliners. There were some scuffs on the paint outside, which were actually buffed out before we even left the service center. It was a rather warm day when we picked it up, so we did not notice the issue then. However, when she took delivery, I went with her. The heat actually did not work. The next day was quite cold. We go to turn on the heat. There's no heat. Apparently, well, she had appointments. Apparently, Tesla had a whole batch of faulty sensors, and because they were running low on parts, rather than slow down production, they shipped everything out, didn't tell anybody. They did send out a software update that bypassed that sensor to give at least about 25% of maximum heat. Not much. Thankfully, it was just entering fall, so not incredibly cold. And then once the corrected non-faulty sensors were in stock, she was able to go in and have that installed, which gave full heat. Something to do with the octavalve, one of the sensors in there. I don't really know the mechanics behind it, so I can't comment too much. And this is really holding at 25 kilowatt. Realistically, it should have gone up by now, so I don't know what is going on there. Impressed by the version 3 supercharging speeds on this and the higher speeds on version 2, although it still seems like it's all over the place. Supercharging both the 3 and the Y on a version 2 supercharger with a max of 150 kilowatt output, and both vehicles, it started off pretty good for a few minutes and then it dropped considerably. It started off 130, 140 kilowatt, dropped down to the 60s, 70s for about 10 or 15 minutes, then it went up to the 90s, then the low hundreds, then dropped back down to the 40s and 50s and stayed there. Didn't seem to matter which vehicle or which supercharger. Still faster than the supercharging on my Model S and my X, though. Would like to see how it is on a version 3. In Bismarck, North Dakota, right down the street from where she's working, is a brand spanking new version 3 supercharger. So I'm going to see if she can snap me some video of that. So I think I might call it for the interior. If you have any questions, let me know. One thing I never noted on the 3 or the Y so far is the back seat does have a fold down armrest, which is really nice, and I like that. The only time the S had that was on the executive trim level, which didn't last very long because there was no middle seat. It was just a 4-seat vehicle, which I don't know why they couldn't have just put a seatbelt in it. The X, as far as I know, does not have and never had a fold down armrest at all, and I really like that. I wouldn't get much use out of that just because it is, I'm gonna have to put a car seat in the middle, but once the kids are out of car seats, that would be kind of nice. All right, Model Y. Are we recording? Okay, taking a look at the Model Y Frunk. Not too shabby. Oh! I gave her a sun visor. Oh, nice. Pretty spacious. No carpeting in it, which means you can throw that wet crap if you're out doing outdoorsy sports. A little tow hook for the front, little access compartment. There's no biohazard mode on these cars. There's your maintenance port. No biohazard mode, but they have a nice carbon filter. Closes pretty easy. She got a little scratch there already. A lot of scratches. Otherwise, the fit and finish and the paint was actually really decent, much better than my S or my X. Let's take a look at these door handles. I like that they got rid of the chrome. I don't like all the chrome on the vehicles. Now here's the problem: is you gotta press in enough and then pull. Now say you walked up and you did it with the right hand. Kind of odd. Please, just a normal door handle, please. Or you can try and go like that. But I'm coming from a back angle, which actually makes it easier. Now say I approached it from this side, I'd have to keep going to open. Back seat. I like that. I really like that. Of course, the seats fold down flat. I'm not going to show you the inside of the trunk because my sister's got a lot of, well, still some factory plastic there. Looks like it's from the paint shop. Continental tires. Not a fan of Continental. I like my Goodyears. There's the Chademo monstrosity charging up. I guess all the 3 and the Y charge ports actually are heated. They're just not activated yet. Future software update coming that activates the charge port heater along with the defroster button. Now let's look at the door handles on this side. Same thing. This time right hand, easy. Left hand, not so much. Whoops. Oh. There we go. Still has the plastic on the sills. Seat controls, pretty much the same as the S and X, pretty similar. I do find the seats very comfortable for my size. I'm about 5'6", 180 pounds currently, so slightly overweight. And it's just barely the right size for me. I think there might be a slight issue for someone that's larger, not taller, but wider, as this part on the seat is a little bit narrow. It hugs me just right, but a little wider than that I think might be a bit of an issue. So that kind of concludes my basic overview here of the Model Y. I'm very impressed. I actually really like it, and same as the 3. I think this is an excellent around town car, and this one I would probably enjoy for long range too. I don't think I would feel as comfortable in a Model 3 going cross country or driving as much as I do. But if you say are doing DoorDash or something where you're sitting in it constantly all day around town, this is an excellent vehicle for that. And that is it. See you guys in the next video.